Operator combines the concept of frequency modulation or FM synthesis with classic subtractive and additive synthesis. Operator includes a filter selection and LFO and global controls, as well as individual envelopes for the 4 oscillators, filter, LFO, and pitch. The full version of Operator is not included with the standard version of Live, but it is a special feature available for purchase separately from the Ableton website. It does come with Ableton Live Suite, which is what I have, but if you don't have it already, you should definitely pick this up. On the left side, you will find 4 oscillator sections right here. These are the 4 oscillators. And on the right side, from top to bottom, you'll find LFO, filter, pitch, and global parameters. Each of Operator's oscillators can either output its signal directly or use its signal to modulate another oscillator, which is FM synthesis. Operator offers 11 predefined algorithms that determine how the oscillators are connected, and that's down here in the algorithm section. In the default position, all of the oscillators will modulate each other in a row, so just picture it here. D will modulate C, which modulates B, which modulates A. Now, what I tend to use is this over here, so each signal is outputting directly, so they're not interfering with each other. Let me give you a demonstration of what I'm talking about. That's if they're modulating each other. But if you choose the selection all the way to the right, they will output individually and not modulate each other. So right now they're just sine waves. Let me pitch this one up an octave. Change the waveform. It just changes the volume and brings it in and out like a little mixer instead of affecting the first oscillator, which is a sine wave. Just by looking at these pictures, it should be obvious how the oscillators are interacting with each other. Like this one, for example, you can see that A, B, and C are sending directly to the output while D is affecting C only. And this one, you'll see that D is affecting all of A, B, and C, and so on and so forth. The oscillators come with a built-in collection of basic waveforms, sine, sawtooth, square, triangle, and noise, and variations of all of those. Like you see saw D versus saw 64, 32, 16 are just lesser versions of the saw wave with less high harmonic content. You'll see as you go lower in number, the tops start to drop off, all the way to saw 4 and 3. The numbers in the displayed name, like saw 3 for example, define how many harmonics are being used for the resynthesis. You also have the ability to draw your own waveforms. And you see the picture down here will update to show you what that waveform is looking like. Drawing in this display area raises and lowers the amplitude of the harmonics. Holding shift while dragging will constrain horizontal mouse movement, allowing you to adjust the amplitude of only one harmonic at a time. So let me hold down shift and I can lower and raise just one at a time. I can't move back and forth. As you lower the harmonics to the right, the high frequency content starts to drop off. You can right-click this menu to allow you to affect only all odd or even harmonics. So let's say I want to affect only the odd harmonics. It's an easy way to draw only odd. Or same thing with even, if I want to just affect the even harmonics. But you see, once I have the even harmonics up, I cannot affect them once I have the odd harmonic tool selected. Also, when right-clicking, if you click the Normalize button, when enabled, the oscillator's overall output level is maintained as you draw additional harmonics. When disabled, additional harmonics will add additional level or volume. The volume with Normalize off can be extremely loud, so use it with caution. Also, if you like the waveform that you drew here, you can export it as well. You can turn off the oscillators by clicking the letter on the side. So now we only have A, and it's set to saw wave. The frequency of the oscillators can be adjusted with the coarse and fine controls down here. In relation to the fine knob, every 50 is one semitone. The amplitude of an oscillator depends on the level setting of the oscillator and on its envelope. Also the envelope here. Now I'll explain what the envelope is doing. So you have the attack, decay, sustain, and release settings. Think of up and down to be volume and left to right to be time. The attack is the time it takes to reach the loudest point. So right now, let me just play a note. If I increase the length of the attack, you can see down here in milliseconds, it starts to take, in this case, 3 seconds to reach its maximum volume. The decay is the amount of time it takes from the maximum volume to reach the level of the sustain. So if I have the sustain all the way at the bottom, let me just adjust the decay. So the envelope's going to reach its loudest point in about 30 milliseconds and then take about a second to reach zero volume again. If I increase the sustain, when I hold the note down, it'll stay at that level. Now the release is the amount of time it takes from after the sustain to reach zero volume again. So let me increase the sustain and set the release to 0. As soon as I let go of the key, it immediately stops. If I increase the release, now let's move on to the LFO over here on the right. Right now it's disabled, and you can tell because it's all grayed out. So if I click this button here to enable it, it brightens up again. The LFO is a low frequency oscillator which can modulate a variety of parameters. It's possible to switch the LFO modulation on or off for each individual oscillator and the filter using the destination A buttons in the LFO's display, which are right down here. So right now it's modulating A, B, C, and D, and we can disable them by clicking them. Or if they're disabled, they'll be grayed out automatically. So I disabled C, and you can see C is now grayed out. Right now, by default, the filter is off, but you can also modulate the filter. The destination B chooser allows the LFO to modulate an additional parameter, which is down here. You can adjust the intensity of the modulation by the amounts of destination A and B right here. Right now, they're at 100% by default, but you can lower them and raise them. The LFO offers the normal variety of waveforms: sine, square, triangle, saw up and down, sample and hold, and noise. The frequency of the LFO is determined by the rate here. Let me switch some of the waveforms for you. Let me switch it to a square. You can also change the amount over here. By default, it's 25%. You also have the ability to choose the range from low, high, or synced, where sync will sync it up to the tempo of the song you're currently working in. Where 1 would be 1 bar, 1/2 would be a half a bar. With the R retrigger button enabled, the LFO restarts at the same position in its phase each time a note is triggered. With R disabled, the LFO is free running.